actually have never noticed. There's his signature. This is not only Duluth's piece, but it's all of Minnesota's piece.
I want them all to play exactly like they think it should go, and then, we'll try to form it into one homogeneous whole.
Now it's more fun, I've established a name for myself and a style. People come to me and say, I want you to do something for me for my shows.
It's definitely based in rock, but it can take any form.
Graphic designer Sean Chosa, public art, conductor Dirk Meyer, and Portrait of a Drowned Man, live at the Underground. The playlist is next.
Funding for The Playlist is provided by the citizens of Minnesota through the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
Please welcome Portrait of a Drowned Man to the playlist.
standing in front of one of my favorite public art pieces in Duluth. It's a library mural that Scott Murphy did for the Duluth Public Library. This was funded through legacy money from the voters of Minnesota, so this is not only Duluth's piece, but it's all of Minnesota's piece. I'm Annie Dugan. I'm curator at the Duluth Art Institute. I picked this piece, partially I have a personal connection to it. My office looks right out over this space. And so from my office window, I could see him as he was working on each individual book. He started with the Grant book on the side, which is my favorite little section of the mural, just because of the gold and like what that physicality of those old books felt like. I love the, I guess those are the Dewey Decimal System and the cataloging system, and how some of the books look really well used and some are like fresh off the shelves. And I think he worked with the librarians to get exactly, you know, some variety in that sense. I love just the scale of it. Not only it is sort of like this fun, impressive, different way of looking at a book, it also says something about the importance of books in our culture, and sort of making them big and important and large scale recognizes the fact that we really respect and honor the role of literature in our community.
We're here with the new music director and conductor of the Duluth Superior Symphony Orchestra, and we want to welcome you, Dirk Meyer, to the playlist.
Thanks for having me, Karen. Thank you.
So you wear two hats with the symphony. One is music director, the other conductor. Put your music director hat on and tell me what that job is and how you approach that in this community.
Interesting question. Never really thought about that, but of course you're right. Those are two different jobs, if you want. I guess the music director job has a lot to do with representing the symphony and the organization within the community. So it has a lot to do with meeting people, getting the word out that there is a symphony orchestra that is worth coming to, and of course also fundraising and all these fun things, being involved in marketing and all these kind of more administrative things, I would say, are under that music director head.
Does that include setting out what the program is for the year? Do you get to be involved in that, or is that this is my taste? The actual programs,
yes, that is all mine, of course, but that is more under the conductor head, I would say, because that's a real musician's job, a real conductor's job, to sit down and think about what would be good to play, what repertoire would I like to play. And of course, it's very important to think about what repertoire would be good for the orchestra, for this particular orchestra, and what repertoire would be good for this particular community.
There's a lot of things to balance there.
There are a lot of things to balance in that, yes, absolutely.
So your concertmaster, Erin Aldridge, her words describing your conducting are exciting and musical. How does that feel?
That feels very good. That's a nice compliment. Those are probably, if you would ask any conductor what they would want to hear from a musician, at least for me, those would be the two that I would love to hear. So I'm flattered.
And when it comes to building on assets that you're already picking up, what do you see as the building blocks that you have to work with within the symphony orchestra?
Well, really, I think the greatest asset that this orchestra has, from my experience of the 6, 7, 8 concerts that I've done so far with them, is there's fantastic musicians in this orchestra. Really, there's a lot of talent in this orchestra. And I've always been a believer, if you want, in an orchestra should consist of top-notch musicians and individuals that have real musical personalities. And some people think, well, it's an orchestra, they create one sound, so you don't necessarily want to have everybody play so individually and with such personality, but I always thought that the opposite is better. I want this personality, and I want them all to play exactly like they think it should go, and then we'll try to form it into one homogeneous whole.
And are you after the sound that you hear, or is it after the sound that you think the composer intended? You know, whose sound are you actually trying for?
Well, I think sound is a very personal issue, or not issue, but it's a matter of taste. So I certainly have a sound that I like and a sound that I try to get out of an orchestra. Then, of course, it also has to do with the composer. So when you play a Mozart piece, your sound that you want is probably going to be significantly different from if you play The Rite of Spring by Igor Stravinsky. And also then the third aspect is, what sound does the orchestra already have? And I think it is absolutely important as a conductor to open your ears and see what do they give first, you know, and how do you like it? And if you want to change something, then take it from there. But don't just try to, you know, force your sound onto whatever is happening. Just, you know, work with what you have and see how that sounds. It might not be what you thought it would be, but maybe it's even better than what you thought it would be.
Dirk Meyer, good luck on your first year and the years beyond.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Some posters I've done. Here's a pile of stuff. I'm a professional graphic designer, which is different than a fine artist. As a graphic designer, you come to me and say, I want this, that's what I make for you. Fine art, I get to do whatever I want. This is real indicative of what I started with. Like, you know, it's anybody in town would see that and know it was me. My name is Sean Chosa, and I live in Ely, Minnesota, and I am a multimedia artist. Here it is, a broken hip with crazy fingers. This is 97. Now that's the White Iron Band today. To me, as a poster designer, I'm trying to get you to look at my poster first off. I mean, there's a whole myriad of stuff for you to look at, but what the hell is that? And I'm going to go look at that. And not only am I going to look at it, maybe I'm going to read what it actually says. Here's a couple posters. Charlie Parr's A Big Tree. Now it's more fun, you know. I've established a name for myself and a style. People come to me and say, I want you to do something for me for my show. It's like, this is a good example, the Corey Chisel piece, where I took half of his face, turned his hat into a flock of birds, and it came out really well. I love the counterculture. I love just some of the Day of the Dead stuff I incorporated. There's the Aroma logo, one of their things. I think for myself personally, have mastered line. I'm most comfortable with it. I can go to it. It's most intuitive. And I'm trying to get there with my painting. I haven't quite got there, but I'm trying it. And you can kind of see that in that picture. This is a piece I've struggled the last 2 years to try and get done. I just can never get it done. And I like painting big. It's so liberating to paint big. I don't know, there's just something impressive about seeing a big painting in a place. And a lot of my paintings are painted such that you can look at them from a distance. And you could look at 5 realistic pictures of a wolf and then see the blue one and then walk away. Which one are you going to remember? Maybe it would probably be the blue one, because you really don't see that out there. Part of the joy of painting is, at least for me, is figuring out something new. I mean, a lot of times it's just by random accident. It seems to me to be the most legitimate thing that I can do. Like when I do it, I own it to a certain extent. Like there's no one that can tell me I'm not an artist. It's what I'm passionate about. I couldn't do anything else.
We're here with Paul Conley and Portrait of a Drowned Man. Give me a sense of who is in the band. You have 3 guitars and a drum, which is not your normal rock band configuration.
We've always been interested mainly in guitar rock and like seriously loud music, and yeah, it's definitely based in rock, but it's really kind of can take any form.
When did you decide to lose the vocals and just go with the sounds that you could create?
Right from the get-go. I mean, we formed the band initially as an instrumental band, and if you're into instrumental music, there's, you know, obviously no vocals in it. It's been around since the days of classical music, but there's been, you know, rock bands writing instrumental songs in the 60s and 70s, and I think it kind of started becoming more, it's pretty popular nowadays if you look for it.
And do you have recordings out there?
Yes, we do have 2 albums out. Our first album sold out, but we do have copies of our latest EP that's out there called Great Gray, that we recorded up in Sparta with Rich Mattson. And we just finished recording and mastering our latest piece, which is a soundtrack for a film that we've been working on. So we recorded 4 new songs for that, and also includes a couple of our older songs that were used in the film as well.
So for people who don't know, your music is used by a local independent filmmaker named Mike Schultz at this point. You are the soundtrack for parts of Wild Bill's Run,
Yep.
correct? And Wicker Kittens is coming out.
Yes.
Okay, Wicker Kittens is about competitive jigsaw puzzling.
Correct.
So how does this music support that kind of competition?
You know, Mike approached us with kind of a, you know, he wanted to use the music in the film, and the person that he was working on the film with also liked the music that he was using from us, so he kind of not seriously asked, you know, would it be, you know, about recording original music for the film, which he was using existing stuff for. So we kept talking about it and ended up, you know, talked to the rest of the band, and everyone was up for the challenge. So yeah, we sat down with his raw footage that had a few of our songs already placed, but for the most part it was just talking, and we picked out characters from the movie and certain scenes that we kind of felt strongly about, and just started writing for what we were seeing.
And now when you play the music, do you see the scene in your head? All of a sudden you know that this is Alice from Sparta, or you know what I mean?
Right. I don't know. I don't personally. I mean, that's where it was rooted in, but you know, we're not much of a recording band. Like we mainly exist to play live, and so when we're playing live, it's kind of, you get wrapped in a lot of whatever the scenario is with that. So it's kind of hard to picture competitive jigsaw puzzling when you're, you know, in a beautiful darkened space.
And tell me a little bit about the songwriting. You know, how does everybody brings their piece to it, or do you come with a melody and this is the structure and let's play with that, or how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, typically Jesse and Justin and I will, either one of us will have, the guitar players will have, you know, something we're working with, and we all kind of build off of that. It's very organic. It always starts as, you know, really loose ideas that just kind of, we just keep layering on top of it until it turns into something we feel is worth continuing to work on. So we do a lot of jamming and a lot of experimenting with, you know, adding and changing sounds.
So here's the big question. Do you ever play the same song the same way twice?
We try to, but so, you know, it always comes out different, and the songs have structure, and they're definitely written with the intent of doing that. But that's why we love playing live so much too. Is, you know, if we're having a good time and people are really responding to a certain piece, we can extend it seamlessly. Or if we can tell, I mean, we've paid our dues and have played shows where people have definitely not enjoyed what we do, and we can feel them turning on us. So we also can shorten them very quickly too.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure. I appreciate it.
Funding for the playlist is provided by the citizens of Minnesota through the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and by viewers like you.